Well, I guess you call this the midpoint of the season, but at the bye week, and it's an opportunity for us. We talked as a staff to see what course you're on, see where you're headed, talk about the things that you've done well, get the things corrected that you need to get corrected, and probably most importantly, try to get healthy too. So you take this time and you evaluate all those things. You do a self-scout on your performance and really get an evaluation and make sure the things that you want to accomplish, the ship is going in the right direction. So we've used this week to evaluate ourselves, get ourselves healthy, and really kind of set the course for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I think to follow up, Coach, getting healthy is important for us. When you get this deep into the season, even if somebody's maybe not injured, but they're capable of playing, they're still banged up and they're sore, and they've been going out there every day for 7-8 weeks now when you take training camp, and just to give their bodies a rest a little bit, and then at the same time, like Coach said, refocus on the fundamentals, getting back to those skills that play all. You get caught up a lot in game planning each week for an opponent. So when you have a week off where you don't have a game, getting a chance to go back and focus on that type of stuff is big. And you can tell, that the guys needed it, appreciated it. And I think we had a really productive week here of getting back to basics and refocusing and getting ready for the second half of the season.
Awesome. So how much are injuries a part of football?
It's a huge part. It's a huge part of the game. It's a high-impact collision sport. Guys are more physical and stronger, and they train. There are better training techniques now. So the velocity of those collisions are pretty intense. So that happens, and it's not unique to one team. No, that's the whole deal. Like, everybody is dealing with injuries, and some of them happen early in the year, some of them happen midway at the midway point, and you may lose a guy late in the season. So I think really good programs, one of the things that we've tried to do here too is they develop players and they have depth. Like, you need to establish depth and have depth in order, because it's going to happen. It's not a matter of when, or not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it's going to happen. So you have to be able to manage those and deal with those. I know a lot of programs have that next guy up mentality, right? And we would like to say that we're in that same situation too, but not every single player is the same. Like, take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Patrick Mahomes just went down. That's a different player than, say, not any more important, but that might be a little bit different player than their left guard. So it's managing those. It's part of the game, right? It's part of a season, and how well you handle those situations, I think, are important. But no one really cares. It doesn't matter, because it is part of the game and everybody's dealing with them. So you have to find ways to be creative. Sometimes it's switching positions on some players, and we've looked at some of that. So really evaluating the players that you have in the program, putting them in a position to be successful. But it is a huge part of it, and we, from day one, like our captain Jake Barr, from preseason camp, we've missed him all year, and he's been a guy that has obviously leadership skills, but game experience, and not having him out there, we've had to shuffle the deck from day one. And then our starting center gets a concussion, and he's been out too. So again, you're shuffling the lineup around. Those guys haven't really played with each other over an extended period of time. So you got to get them gelling as quickly as possible, and we have to always evaluate them and make sure that we're doing what they do well. You may have a great game plan with the players that you have in place, but once they change, you may have to adjust. There isn't any stone that we're not going to leave unturned. We're going to try to find the best way to do things, whether it's changing scheme to fit the new players' skill set, or whether it's finding position changes that may be able to benefit us going forward.
And Coach Russell, do you think, I mean, in some ways, is it a benefit to slightly have injuries or rest, like slightly towards the beginning or middle of the season, where you can be kind of at a better place maybe later in the season? Is that a benefit or no?
Well, I think the rest aspect, like you said, because you have the ability to get work for other players, right? So that your backup player, your number 2 on the depth chart. We talk to our guys all the time about it. The starter at that position, he needs to get as many, if not all, the practice reps. And football is a game that is huge on repetition. You got to have as many possible repetitions as possible. So that guy who might be number 2 on the depth chart, he needs to prepare as though he were the starter, because as Coach alluded to, he's one play away from going into the game and playing the whole game. But it's tough to find the balance of getting him the physical repetitions to prepare when you're trying to prepare the starter. So we put a lot of the pressure on the kids to make sure that they're getting the mental reps of standing on the sideline, hearing the call, seeing the formation, so on and so forth, and being ready when their time comes. But there really is no substitute for physically doing it either. So trying to find the balance there, and it's tough. And if we knew the exact right answer, we'd be golden. So hopefully it doesn't occur through injury. But like you touched on early on, if there's a chance for that backup to get significant repetition, significant work, executing calls, executing the game plan, I think that certainly could benefit you later on down the road. And what we try to do during the training camp portion, when we're not preparing for a game, is get every player on the roster as many reps as possible, executing our calls offensively, defensively, even in special teams. That's an area I think that we focus a lot on, but to the outside world, they say, well, their starting quarterback's out, or their starting linebacker is out, or their starting safety is out. That has a ripple effect on the special teams game as well. That depth chart is changing almost daily. Whether it's a military commitment or an injury, or the simple fact that you may have been a backup, so you were playing a lot of special teams, but now you're the starter. You need to kind of spend more time focusing on that part of it. So we're going to put somebody else into your role on special teams, and trying to get those guys the reps at it during the week to prepare for a game too. So, I'd like to think we do a good job of preparing everyone during training camp. But the reality is, once the season starts and you've got a game each week to prepare for, it's really tough to get everyone reps. And this past week, we had a player go down on the 3rd play of the game. And his backup played the rest of the game and performed well and gave great effort. But he didn't think he was going to play an entire football game on Saturday. So he had to make sure during the week he was preparing. We were facing a triple option offense, which is even more a little bit mentally taxing, and physically for that matter, to be ready to defend. So, the player came in and did a pretty good job. But he didn't go to bed Friday night thinking he was going to play an entire game the next day, and he was forced to do that. So, there's definitely a balance there of how do you prepare your starters as well as possible, but also have your backups ready to go if their number is called. And I think we've done a pretty good job at it, but I know we're always talking as a staff about how can we do this most efficiently, most effectively, to get the best results.
Yeah, and I think that as we continue to learn and grow and grow with the current group of players that are coming in, how do they learn? Right, so we're always trying to figure out ways that if you're not going to get the physical reps, how do we discipline your eyes and how do we train your eyes to be able to see what you need to see when you're not physically in there? So we're a little bit old-fashioned in that we still give out a paper handout to our athletes for a weekly scouting report. I know a lot of them, and even within that paper scouting report, there's different ways, because we know that athletes learn differently, and people learn differently for that matter. So it's sometimes written out so that they can see it, drawn out so that they can see it. It's sometimes in a data sheet form. We use cut-ups on video, I think is really critical. A lot of these kids grow up with that technology now, so we're always searching for ways to practice better, to teach better, to get those guys more prepared. And I think as technology grows, we're going to continue to go down that path, because they're just used to learning in that capacity. So, but yeah, you're always walking those fine lines. Like it's also about what you put in schematically, right? Because we could scheme up a great game plan, but if our players don't understand it and aren't able to execute it, then we have to trim that down, and we have to make sure that they're able to execute what we're asking them to do and digest the information that we're giving them, so that they can play fast. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to a certain skill set, like blocking and tackling. Those things. So we have to go out there and work on the fundamentals on a weekly basis and make sure that they're sharp. But at the same time, we're trying to be a difficult team to prepare for in terms of scheme on both sides of the ball. So that requires a mental discipline that's a little bit tough. And you factor in this time of the year, you have second exams coming around, midterms coming around. There's an academic stress on them this time of year that is unlike week 2. So there are a lot of factors that go into it. Physically, they're beat up. Mentally, they're exhausted. So we have to make sure that when they come to practice, that they are focused. We have to present it in a manner that is concise, so it's easy for them to learn, so that they can play fast and have great success.
Awesome. So you're 4-2 right now. Where have you been, and what's kind of ahead? Take me through where you've been, though. Those 4 wins were pretty incredible. Talk about those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to start the year on the road against a playoff team and win that one was a big, shot in the arm for our program, and especially the way that we did it, to come back, score late, and then to block the kick late. Was a really exciting win for the program, and really for us, I felt like we were there. I wasn't sure that our players felt like we were there yet, but that. To me, that proved to them that they were capable of winning and they were capable of doing it. And then the St. Lawrence game, they really, a year earlier, they really blew us out. And to be able to get that game in convincing fashion. I mean, we struggled a little bit down the stretch, but we jumped out early and really, we held on but really got out in front of them to a point where it was almost possible for them to come back. And then such an emotional, close game with all the pomp and circumstance and everything that was surrounding the homecoming festivities and who the opponent was and the importance of that day and the grand scheme of things to be able to walk that one off. It was storybook type ending. And then to go down on the road against an opponent who is a rival for us as well, that was a really big win too, and that was a dangerous game, almost like a trap game. And I think the players came out and did a great job. To be quite honest with you, that was an emotional roller coaster that we went through. And then we went on the road and we're up on, what a lot of people thought was the league favorite to win the NEWMAC Conference Championship at their place, and we're unable to hold on. So that part of it was disappointing, and the disappointment comes from a good place in this particular instance. I think the players have high expectations. They feel like they can compete at a very high level, especially in New England. And when they came up short, of course they were disappointed. It was not for lack of effort. I think our effort was there. We still had not been there as a program. Take that back. We've been there as a program. These current players haven't been there in that situation. So staying on top, how to prepare week in and week out, knowing that you're going to get everybody's best was a new place for these current players in the program. So they were a little bit disappointed because they expected to win those games, and they felt like, and I feel like we had a chance to win those games too. As we take a deep breath and reflect on it, we're still in a very good situation. We still have a ton of to play for. And last year at this mid-break, we were 1-5. And we actually were feeling pretty good about ourselves because we had played in a lot of tight games. So I think the players are in a good spot. I think they're using that disappointment not as motivation and as a learning tool. And I think the younger players in the program are learning an awful lot from it as well.
Coach, how about going forward? What do you got kind of looking in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've taken again this week to rest up and prepare. You're able to get a little bit of a head start on your next opponent, while at the same time looking back at, for the first 6 games, what have we done well? What do we need to improve on? So we've been able to do both those things during the bye week. We're playing at home again after the bye week next week. A conference game, here, and the kids are excited to get back on the field, I think. And anytime you lose, as coaches, as players in the game of football, you play once a week. So you lose and you got to wait a whole week to get back on the field. In this case, 2 weeks. So I know we're all chomping at the bit to get back out there and compete, but at the same time appreciating the time off to rest and get healthy, and gearing up for the stretch run. They're all conference games from here on in. Good teams. We got a tough trip after we're home for a week. We go down to Washington, D.C. That's always a tough trip. When you're traveling from Vermont to Washington, D.C., that's a lot of miles, a lot of hours on the road. So that will be a challenge for sure. And then we go down to Boston and play MIT, the defending league champion. That's another one that we're excited about. And then you wrap up your regular season here at home. And as Coach said, there's still a lot to play for. There's still a conference championship out there. We kind of put ourselves where we need some help there, but we're still in position to potentially compete for that. There's other postseason opportunities, whether they're bowl games or wherever it may be. We've already improved on last year's record. So that was a goal that the team had, and they took care of that right off the bat. So there's a lot of things still as we go through our team goal sheet in the preseason that are still available, still reachable. A chance to really, since I've been here, our program high for wins in the regular season is 8. So that's another one you can equal that. If you're able to win out, but the only way you do that is by going one at a time. You start looking at what are we going to do the next 4 weeks, and that doesn't help you in the first week. So I think our players have done a really good job of doing that all season long, of focusing week by week, and they're excited to finish it out and see where this thing goes. And again, when you lose a game, particularly one that you really had a chance to win, and the players feel like maybe they should have won, and the coaches feel like we let it get away, you can't wait to get back out there, and the kids are excited about that. But I do think they also appreciate having a weekend off to recalibrate, refocus. As Coach alluded to, the academic stresses of midterms that just finished and exams, and seeing where you're at there. And student athletes have a lot on their plate, so having a week where the workload lessens a little bit, for them to make sure, okay, where am I at? And especially a place like Norwich, where you have the athletic commitment, you have the academic commitment, and then a large number of our players have a military commitment as well. So for them to be able to take some time to catch up and or get ahead in all those things is a big benefit. But we're excited about the stretch run. We're excited. We feel like we should be getting some guys who have missed a couple games with injury. We feel like they should be coming back soon. They've been working hard on the rehab with our training staff. So getting those guys back is exciting. And just kind of going out there and trying to continue to stack our bricks and build our wall and see where we stand at the end of it. Going week by week. And, the excitement, I think, remains high, as Coach said. It's easy to sit here after you lose a couple games and feel, kick yourself and say, shucks. We're 4-2. We're still a good football team. We're a very competitive football team. We had 2 very competitive games against 2 very good teams that probably could have gone either way if we'd done a little bit better. We're ready to go. The season is not over by any stretch of the imagination. And can't wait to see what our guys do. I think they're going to respond really well and go on this final push and hopefully get that momentum back rolling that we had through the first 4 weeks.
We've taken it in this program. We've always said that if we win a game, then our players probably did a great job of executing what we've asked them to do. If we lose a game, I think it's the coach's responsibility to say, okay, what went wrong? And really look at it. And it's easy to look on game day and try and say, okay, well, this happened here, or we didn't convert on 3rd down, but now you got to step that back. What about on Tuesday when we practice 3rd down? How are we doing it? How are we going about it? So it's always going to be a situation here where if we win a game, our players won that game and they executed it well. If we didn't, it's up to the coaching staff to find out why and how we can make it better and put our players in position to have success. So we've done a lot of that this week too as a staff. I take full responsibility for not being able to finish that game and not being on the right track, and so that's on me, and I have to go back and take a look and find out why. And sometimes you have to ask tough questions and get to the bottom of it, because we're all working towards the same thing. No one's going out there with intent to make a bad play call, or no one's going out there with the intent to not execute on a play. We're all in this thing together. But I think it's really our responsibility to get them confident, to make sure that they're well equipped to be able to be successful, to defend against anything that they need to be able to execute on the things that they're going to see. And we have to be able to give them in-game adjustments as well. So we worked really hard on that. The players that have come through that program since I've been the head coach understand that that's the way it's going to be. And so we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to find some answers. And if we have to make some adjustments and tweaks, we will to get the outcomes that we're looking for. So they understand there are no shortcuts. There is no substitute for hard work. You have to have discipline as you go through this too. And sometimes we looked at it too, sometimes as you're preparing week to week, and Coach Russell talked about it a little bit, is your focus is so much on that week and getting ready to play that opponent that as you're watching film, you may lose some fundamentals, right? You may, that kind of gets swept under the carpet a little bit as you're trying to get guys ready and get them lined up and know what their opponent is. So back to basics too on a bye week has always been really successful for us. The last 2 years in the NEWMAC Football Conference, coming out of this bye week, we've gotten a win. So I feel like we've done some things right. Got the guys back to basics. One particular year, we changed offensively a lot in the bye week, and that put us in positions to be able to be successful down the stretch and be in some games. So. Like Coach said, I really enjoy coaching in this bye week because it's not about anybody other than ourselves. And it's real easy to say that, well, it should always be that weekend. It doesn't matter who your opponent is. You should always be focusing on that. That's easier said than done sometimes when you have an opponent who's different than you are, who's bringing 0 blitzes or running a triple option and things that you don't see. You got to make sure your players are able to execute and line up too. So you do have to spend some time on that. So but our, like the preseason, the bye week, the off season, it's sometimes some of your funnest times coaching because it doesn't matter. All that matters is us. So it's been a real fun time. I think our guys are getting juiced up and getting charged up, and again, we're excited to go on this stretch run and see where it leads.
Awesome. Last thing I would say, anything you want to say to your supporters over the season, fans in general?
Yeah, no, I think Norwich football is really special, and the guys that have been a part of it over that extended period of time understand what it's all about. And Coach Yesalonia, Mike Yesalonia, hired me and gave me my first job in coaching college football in 1997, and it was here. So philosophically, he was a player here, he was a coach here, now he's the head coach. He brought that with him from when he played to when he coached to when he was the head coach, and I bring a lot of that to the table too. It's really important that we represent our former players and our alumni and the things that we do, and it's part of our program. And that's, to me, that word is tradition. So, we work really hard, and it's really important to us to uphold those standards and the tradition that is here. And I think that the players understand what we're trying to do. Like the guys that have been through the program, they recognize what the mission is and what the goals are. And in the moment, sometimes they don't necessarily agree with or understand why we're doing all the things that we do. But 10, 15 years down the road, I think they come to appreciate what the program stands for and what it means to be part of this. So I think that's really important. But our parents have been outstanding. The tailgates, home games, away games, they are there to support us, and it's really critical to know that you've got somebody there that, regardless of the outcome of a game, knows what it is, that it's bigger than that. And when they recognize and understand that it's more than just the outcome of that game and what you're trying to do and how you're trying to develop their sons and the people that are here, then I think you've got something special. So it's really important for us sometimes too that we get that support and people remind us of, hey, I know the outcome may not have been where you wanted it to be, or, hey, I know the outcome was great, that was good, that was fantastic, but they kind of bring you back and remind you of what it is that you're doing and the overall mission of the program. So I think that has been support, that has been tremendous, and that support is all the people who know. That's a saying that we always say. Like the guys who've been in the program and the guys who are associated with the program and the people from the administrators here, they've understand what we've been trying to build. They see us, the inner workings and how we handle academics here and those students that are struggling with things. When you have 130 players in your program, things come up almost daily, and you need more than just yourself to be able to make all of those decisions. And I think over an extended period of time, people come to realize, what it is that you're doing. They respect what you're doing, and they understand the big picture of things. So that becomes also really important, and it makes you feel a sense of community and pride, and that people are going to have your back.
I think the other thing too is what's been really nice is, we talk a lot about the alumni support, which is amazing, unlike anything I've ever seen anywhere else. And we talk about our family support, again, unlike anything I've ever seen, the way they travel, what they do for our players. But our current students here at the university, outside of the program, other student athletes, different teams, have been engaged, excited, encouraging. Through the game day operations, for a couple of weeks, we had some of our men's ice hockey players on our sideline working as ball boys and chain gang. And I don't know that some of them had ever been in that environment before, and their enthusiasm was really cool, and their remarks after the game I see, again, everybody, our men's lacrosse team, our men's basketball team, our women's basketball team, whoever it may be, they come to our games, they support our athletes, they're excited about what we're doing. The general student population, here at Norwich, obviously we have a sizable corps of cadets. And I'm certain that some of them don't appreciate getting up on a Saturday and marching down onto the field in uniform and formation and doing the march on. But that environment that's created through what they do for us cannot be short-sold. What that does for our players, the emotional lift that it gives our guys, is critical, and it's incredible. I've been here for 12 years. I haven't missed a march on yet. I think what it creates is unlike anything in the rest of Division III football anywhere in the country. Maybe there are bigger crowds at other schools. There are not better crowds or better environments. So if you're watching, thank you. We appreciate that and the environment it creates. That Saturday of Bicentennial with the Coast Guard game, to me it was an extremely emotional day for everyone. And to me, one of the best parts about it was Norwich University alumni, Norwich University students, Norwich University faculty, Norwich University staff, Norwich University student athletes, coaches, all together on the same team, and we won. Norwich won. Norwich football didn't win. We won. And it was a really, really special day, and I find it hard to believe if I coach for another 30 years that I'll have a better football memory than I do from that day. As Coach said, it couldn't have ended any better. It was like a storybook, and everything came together, and it took everybody. It took our players, it took our fans, it took our students, it took our alums. Everybody was a part of that win, and that's really, I think, what we're trying to create is we want Norwich football, to be a really important part of our campus fabric. And we hold our players to a high standard to make sure that that's happening and doing the best job that we can. So everybody plays a role, and when we're all pulling the rope in the same direction, we can do some really, really special things.
Yeah. And sometimes you get focused on the outcomes, the overall record, and it's important, and it is a part of that. You're competing, and we want to teach these guys about that, because we talk to our players all the time about, you leave here, you go to that first job interview, you win or you lose. You're prepared for that or you're not. So that is part of it. But sometimes regardless of that, what you see on the outside, that overall win-loss record, and again, like we expect to do that. We're going to earn the right to do that, and we want to win conference championships here too. But behind that, there are some times where you go through a season and inside of that thing, the players are making great decisions. And there are sometimes you go through that season, and inside of that, players are making mistakes too. And that happens all the time. And still, you got to be able to handle those things. You got to be able to deal with those situations and recognize that you got to be honest, you got to be fair, you got to be firm. And you got to move forward. And we're not always, sometimes your student athletes make mistakes on the field and off the field, and we're always trying to use them as teaching moments. How can we use this as a teaching moment? Because this is life. Like those things that happen, there are circumstances, like I said, that come up all the time. This program, or in this particular team, has gone through quite a bit this season, and I think every chance that we get under all of these circumstances, we've tried to use them as a learning experience, because this is real life stuff that's happening all around them, and sometimes you're not always making great decisions, and how do you move forward from that? Sometimes life isn't always fair. And how do you move forward from that? And there are consequences, and every chance that we get, it's about teaching them and trying to give them, this is a real life situation that's happening right now. How do we all get better from this and learn from this?
Fantastic. Lastly, would you talk about the training staff in general? You know, your support, you talk about support, you know, back and forth. How about them? They've been there since the beginning of the season and, you know, through the thick of it, your communication with them has to be on par daily. You know, talk about the trainers and the training staff, especially right now.
Yeah, they do a great job. You know, Dave Patello is our head athletic trainer. Has been here, I think, longer than both of us. Maybe both of us combined. No, I'm just kidding. But he's been here quite a while. Really understands what we're trying to accomplish and is on our team. You know, trying to get our players into the best possible place they can be health-wise, making sure that they're taking care of themselves. You know, he's dedicated. He goes to practice every day. He's on the road with us. He travels. He's sitting on uncomfortable buses and you know, spending time away from his family, sacrificing for the good of our student athletes, which is, you know, a noble thing to do. It's a noble cause, and you know, I know we appreciate everything he does for us. And he has an assistant athletic trainer, Katie Smith, which has been really neat because Katie was a student here and spent some time as a student athletic trainer working with our program. And then she was hired into a part-time kind of intern type role, worked with Dave with football. And then when a full-time spot opened, she was promoted and given that full-time spot. And in years past, that full-time role hadn't been working with football, but she had an investment in our program, in our student athletes, and chose to stay working with football with Dave and with our student athletes. And they've just been really, really valuable. And as you touched on the communication aspect, you know, they're in constant communication with us, with Scott, our equipment manager, with the strength training staff about where guys are at, what they're capable of doing, what they can't do, you know, where they should be in the weight room, where they should be on the field, what they can be doing that day, how they can get themselves healthy, how they can keep themselves healthy, so on and so forth. And we also have a crew of really outstanding student athletic trainers that are here in the athletic training program, working their undergraduate degrees. You know, we practice at 6:30 a.m. on Tuesdays, and a lot of college students don't like to be up at 6:30 in the morning, whether they're part of the team and have to be out there on the field practicing or not. And our student athletic trainers have been out there every morning that we're out there. Filling up water jugs before practice even starts, so they're getting up even earlier, and they're spending the time out there making sure that our guys are healthy, making sure that they're cared for, making sure that they're working on their rehab if they're supposed to be doing that. It's not always warm at 6:30 a.m. in central Vermont, so to me, I've been really impressed with their dedication and their level of professionalism as undergrads. A couple of them also will travel with us on the road when we go, so they're getting a lot of real hands-on experiential learning. Which I think is critical and something that we do very well here at Norwich. So
Yeah, and those students are 5:30, right? Like we're practicing at 6:30. They've got to get 45 guys ready to be able to practice. You know, like and those 45 meaning those guys that are injured, whether it be I need something taped, I need heat, I need this, I need that, whatever it may be. So they've done a tremendous job. One, you know, they have to make sure that those players are healthy, but they also have an expectation and obligation to get them back out there as quickly as possible. So they've always had the students' health as the number one priority, right? And so we trust them, we rely on them. They make all of those decisions, you know, and I know they work with Dr. Partridge on a consistent basis too. So any of those decisions come from them. It's great because it doesn't put the student athlete in a situation where he's trying to decide what he should be doing at that practice. It doesn't put the coaches in a situation where they're trying to make medical decisions about what that player should be doing at practices. That falls in the hands of our athletic trainers. We trust them. We trust the medical staff here. Again, their goal is to they have safety, the student athletes' safety and health as their number one priority, but they want to see them out there too. And sometimes that may mean sitting out a day. You know, and a lot of players don't want to do that, but in their best interest, it might be sitting out a day. So we get a daily report from them, and we communicate on a consistent basis about whether we feel like players are going to be available for that week, and so on and so forth. And I know that the academic part of things with the Academic Achievement Center, Ted Ingham has really done a fantastic job with the concussion protocol and the return to play. He has a return to learn process that's involved too. So it has been outstanding, and certainly it's a huge part of a football program, the athletic training staff, and they've got to be on point, and they understand what we're trying to accomplish, and they've done a great job with that. And then you take the equipment part of things too, to gear up shoulder pads and helmets and all of the wash, and Scott Mullen does an unbelievable job, and Brent down in the equipment room, and student work study students down there too. It takes so many people, and then the strength and conditioning part of things too. And Coach Russell mentioned about that, like the athletes at Norwich coming together more than ever. And I think having a varsity weight room in this building where a lot of the athletes hang out has really helped that cohesiveness between sports too. They see each other down there. So there is so much more than just the coaching staff. We need an outstanding athletic training staff. We need an outstanding equipment staff. We need an outstanding strength and conditioning staff. And all of those people play such a vital role in the development and the overall success of our program too. And they've done the university has given us tremendous support there, and those people have been on board, and our athletes have benefited being around them.